The history of the Titanic is a captivating tale that begins with its design and construction, leading up to its tragic sinking in 1912. This legendary British passenger liner, built by the prestigious Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Northern Ireland, was an engineering marvel of its time. With its luxurious amenities and state-of-the-art features, the Titanic was intended to be the ultimate symbol of opulence and modernity. The RMS Titanic was designed as part of the Olympic-class trio of ocean liners, along with its sister ships, the RMS Olympic and HMHS Britannic. The construction of the Titanic began on March 31, 1909, at the Harland and Wolff shipyard in Belfast, Northern Ireland. The ship was built using the latest technological advancements and was considered a marvel of engineering for its time. The Titanic had a length of 882 feet and 9 inches, 268 meters, and a gross tonnage of 46,328 tons. It featured 4 large funnels, of which only 3 were functional, and a double-bottomed hull divided into 16 watertight compartments. The ship was equipped with luxurious amenities and accommodations, catering to different classes of passengers. The Titanic's maiden voyage was scheduled for April 10, 1912, from Southampton, England, to New York City, USA. On board were approximately 2,224 passengers and crew members, including notable individuals that have continued legacies till today. John Jacob Astor IV was an inventor, writer, and member of the prominent Astor family. He was considered one of the wealthiest men in the world at the time. Astor did not survive the sinking, and his body was later recovered. Benjamin Guggenheim was an American businessman and philanthropist, known for his association with the Guggenheim family and their mining and smelting interests. He famously refused to board a lifeboat, choosing instead to go down with the ship, saying, "We've dressed up in our best and are prepared to go down like gentlemen." Margaret Brown, also known as Molly Brown, was an American socialite and philanthropist. She gained fame for her efforts in assisting other survivors during the Titanic disaster. Molly Brown was one of the few first-class passengers who actively participated in the rescue efforts. Isidor Straus was a German-American businessman and co-owner of Macy's department store. He and his wife Ida were known for their strong marriage and devotion to one another. Despite being offered a place on a lifeboat, they chose to stay together and perished in the sinking. On the night of April 14, 1912, while sailing through the North Atlantic Ocean, the Titanic struck an iceberg. The iceberg, estimated to be around 100 feet high and weighing several million tons, tore through the ship's starboard side, causing extensive damage to the hull. The collision with the iceberg caused the Titanic's compartments to flood with seawater. As the ship's bow submerged, water progressively filled the compartments, leading to a loss of buoyancy. The Titanic began to sink bow first into the icy waters of the Atlantic Ocean. The Titanic had a total of 20 lifeboats on board, including 14 wooden lifeboats and 4 collapsible boats. However, these lifeboats were only enough to accommodate about half of the people on board. The evacuation process was chaotic and uncoordinated, with some lifeboats launched only partially filled. The sinking of the Titanic resulted in the loss of more than 1,500 lives, making it one of the deadliest peacetime maritime disasters in history. The inadequate number of lifeboats, the lack of a comprehensive evacuation plan, and the freezing temperatures of the North Atlantic contributed to the high casualty count. The RMS Carpathia, responding to the Titanic's distress signals, arrived on the scene and rescued around 705 survivors from the lifeboats. The news of the disaster shocked the world, causing grief and outrage. Memorial services were held in various countries to honor the victims, and relief funds were established to support the survivors and the families of those who perished. Following the sinking, multiple inquiries were conducted in the United States and the United Kingdom to investigate the causes and circumstances surrounding the disaster. The British Board of Trade and the United States Senate led separate inquiries, which examined various aspects, including the ship's design, construction, and the actions of the crew. The inquiries sought to determine liability and make recommendations to prevent similar tragedies in the future. The sinking of the Titanic has had a profound and lasting impact on maritime safety. It led to significant changes in international regulations and safety practices, including the establishment of the International Ice Patrol to monitor icebergs in the North Atlantic, the requirement for 24-hour radio communication on ships, and the implementation of stricter lifeboat capacity rules. The story of the Titanic has captured the public's imagination and has been the subject of numerous movies and stories, but this isn't where the history ends. A submersible watercraft with 5 people on board that went missing after setting out on a Sunday morning in June to explore the Titanic shipwreck in the North Atlantic most likely suffered a catastrophic implosion. The 22-foot carbon fiber and titanium craft, called the Titan, was deployed by a Canadian expedition ship, the Polar Prince, to travel nearly 13,000 feet down to the shipwreck site, on the ocean floor off Newfoundland. The Titan lost contact with the surface ship an hour and 45 minutes after it started to dive. 5 people were in the submersible: Stockton Rush, the founder and chief executive of OceanGate Expeditions, which operated the vessel; Hamish Harding, a British businessman and explorer; another British businessman, Shahzada Dawood, and his son, Suleiman, from one of Pakistan's wealthiest families; and Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a French maritime expert who had been on more than 35 dives to the Titanic wreck. OceanGate, a private company based in Everett, Washington, organizes expeditions that can last up to 9 days to travel to shipwrecks and underwater canyons. According to the company's website, OceanGate also provides crewed submersibles for commercial projects and scientific research. OceanGate called the Titan the only crewed submersible in the world that can take 5 people as deep as 4,000 meters, more than 13,100 feet, below the surface of the ocean. The company has taken people on tours of the Titanic site since 2021. And guests have paid $250,000 to travel to the wreckage. In 2018, leaders in the submersible craft industry were so worried about what they called the experimental approach of OceanGate that more than 36 of them signed a letter to the company, obtained by the New York Times. They warned of possible, catastrophic, problems with the submersible's development and the planned voyage to the Titanic wreckage. Soon after, the Titanic gained 5 more victims, leading to a total of 1,505 bodies lost at sea.